How's it going? So I wanted to cover Black History Truths today. I started to do a lot of research because a lot of things didn't match my experience, and I keep being told this country's a racist country, and things like that. It just didn't match my experience. Being told that blacks weren't educated, and this and that, all the way up until 1850, when just simple things like I could teach my kid how to read simply, if like you just teach them the alphabet and pronunciation. It's like they really want to teach you that people are inherently dumb across the board and couldn't figure things out till recently, when we've always been pretty intelligent. So my experience with black people growing up in black communities has always been very positive for the most part. With and it didn't match my experience with what I was being taught in school. So I just never quite believed it or got it or understood it. So when I started questioning things in general, and piecing things together, it just didn't make sense to me. But this is the first president of the United States of the Confederate Army, because there was only one American army in the Civil War. Most people don't know that or realize that. The other one flew under the Union Jack flag, which was the British flag. So his name was Moore. It was a Moore family, which was a very powerful family, still around to this day. But they're so his family donated 800 pounds of silver to help fund the Civil War. He was the first president of the Confederate Army, which is the Confederate flag is a black flag, was a black army, and we flew under the Confederate flag as the 13 stars, 13 astronomical signs, as the flag of Christ, basically. 12 disciples, 13 for Jesus. So I just did some research. I'm going to pause it. You can catch up and read. These are just articles I looked up. I encourage people to go do their own research. But this has a very similar connotation, I guess. I don't the words. I'm not a literature expert, but as the Frederick Douglass journals. One day, I found this article recently. This 6 facts. The next few pages will show that. But I went back once I started questioning things. I went back and read all the Frederick Douglass articles. I mean, I spent days and days reading them. And I just kept thinking, like, man, this man is so intelligent. And they tell us people were dumb back then. He traveled to and from Europe as a black man. And just a lot of things that should raise your eyebrows and questions as you're reading them. He often referred to blacks and niggas and Negroes as 3 different things in the articles. And that's what made me start realizing, well, he's referring to them as different people. Why? So, and then in this paper right here, they bring that up again. So, and this was, I found pretty interesting that they brought it up in these articles when I had already seen it, thought about it. When you go back and read the Frederick Douglass journals, you're catching a piece of era and age of a generation, and there's a lot of reading in between the lines that your mind must pick up on before you understand any of it. Like, what we've been told about history is completely false. Like, completely false. And just pause it if you want to catch up, read. I put 7 seconds on every one of these memes. This is page 2. Page 3. And remember, the Native Americans, blacks, most of the part. See, like, I also watch videos like Waka Flocka. He's a black rapper who got his blood test done and found he didn't have any African in him. 0. I meant to like highlight a lot of the things that So, but they tell us all the Christopher Columbus stuff to everything. Everything is to hide real black history. Juneteenth, this country was built by the blacks and the Chinese. The blacks beat the Chinese. They made the railroads. Uh, Irish, French, all of them escaped England's tyranny. That's what happened. It's what we're taught, but we're taught like the nonsense on top of it. So the first time the Native Americans got poisoned, 1623. See, they also didn't make like the Thanksgiving a national holiday till the late 1800s, and the Trail of Tears was also a lie. Like the story made up to back the main narrative of how our country was formed. But Black history is the true history of our country, which is, have you ever heard why Black history is a slap in the face? Because American history is Black history. That's the last page of that article. Now these are Black Freemason history. I just showing people ancient pictures. Now I meant to get a picture of one of the dollars. It has John Hanson on the back of the dollar bill. There's a bunch of people sitting together, and Hanson's right there in the dollar. You just don't pay attention. Why is there a black man sitting there amongst all these people? So Oklahoma was the bed for Black Freemasonry. You'll notice a lot of states all have Native American tongues and names. Oklahoma, but they were Black Native American. So a lot of those names come from blacks. So like one of the things that sticks out to me is Muhammad Ali saying, "I don't want that white daddy name," or something like that. I think he's also misled by history. That a lot of those white names were really, really black names. So so this is one of the first things I saw when I was waking up to 9/11 and all the other stuff, was 7 black presidents before Obama. I was like, what are these people talking about? And so that made me think, like, if it doesn't make you think and you're immediately like ridiculing or demonizing it, you're brainwashed. You're brainwashed. You need to start thinking for yourself. At least give it legitimacy, pay it attention, take heed of it, read it, and then evaluate your thoughts. See the names? Calvin Coolidge. To me, that's, I grew up in Atlanta and went to historic black schools and high school, and I always thought that the names, but they teach you that they're the white daddy names, right? and in the Bible, Abraham was a black man, so maybe he was part black or half black. And also, something I've noticed, a lot of the Native American black people, like my neighbor Bucci, reminds me of my father, and downward nose. A lot of, and that you have all these different white races. A lot of white people are ignorant. They don't realize there's a bunch of different black races. It's just, people just don't think. The Israelites have more of a backwards African nose, like where it's wide open, and then the Native American black people have a downward nose. This is the burning of Black Wall Street. Those race wars going on. So just like today, as they're burning down all the black cities in America due to BLM, they blamed it on the black community back then. They burned down Wall Street, and it was their fault because they killed a white person. So they decided to destroy all of Black Wall Street. Just like they destroyed Minneapolis and Portland and every black city in between, and then did it in the name of BLM, which donated all their money to a white president. Democratic, the KKK party. feel free to pause, read. A lot of this stuff I want you to all go research on your own. This is stuff I just found real quick, thoughts I had. Um, so a lot of reading in between the lines. A lot of it's suggestive, objective, not. It's hard to tell what's true history. So maybe somewhere in between, right? Oh, okay. Another one like the Frederick Douglass journals. You go back and read the Columbus journals, you're going to get a different vibe than you would from what they're telling us in history. So go read them. Pretty cool, interesting little read. There's no reason to hate Christopher Columbus. Your hate should be directed towards the Vatican, which still exists today. Okay. The flags in the Civil War. There was only one American flag, like I said. The other one was a Union Jack flag. All these flags are American. So that's why they try to erase them from all the flags, because the Confederate flag was the Black Army flag. Go to every city, you'll see tons and tons of black people. I think the population of the country is a lie too. I think there's a very high percentage of black people in every city that I've ever been in has a large population of black people. Well, the rural places where there's only thousands of people in each town are white, but I was just in a rural town in Columbia, Mississippi, it's black. Everywhere I lived, it's black. So, like, I've experienced a huge melting pot, but the country's mostly white. I don't know. Okay, this was Grand Canyon. You think all that looks like water erosion, by the way? You think water erosion creates 90-degree angles over and over and over again? Or does that look like it was carved? You ever questioned that? Well, the Egyptians have stuff lost in the pyramids. And it's my personal opinion that they traveled there a long time ago, and it's an unpopular opinion. I get hate when I say this, but I think Yahweh was Native American and came from the Egyptians mixed with the Alaskan natives, and that's how we got the black natives and Moors, and they created our country, built a nation, and Yahweh was a Native American. And a lot of the ethos that I think he carries came from Native American culture. Some say he traveled to the east when he disappeared for 30 days and went to Tibet or something. Personally, it could have been the Americas, God's country. Frederick Douglass papers, you can find them anywhere. Like I said, read between the lines. Notice how he talks about the different types of black people, different types of slaves. The Irish people were slaves too. A lot of people don't want to admit that. They're indentured servants. They lived in like small apartment homes, pennies per day, working to death, low food, low clothing. A lot of them lived worse, way worse than plantations. And once again, black people were very educated. They took very good care of themselves. They taught white people how to bathe and clean. My friend Lorenzo was telling me about that one day, and I was like, what, really? And I was like, I kind of questioned him, you know. I was like, you're probably right. You're probably right. And made sense. A lot of the movies, old white people are dirty. And then you'll notice in all the movies, white people are glistening, clean, as always. So, and the intelligence of this man was at such a high level. And I went back and tried to do science books, math books, and read them. We are getting dumber. People don't want to admit that, just because we have more technology that was probably suppressed, because it's not hard to figure out lots of these things, especially for these people. So it had to be suppressed. Kind of a weird quote for a man to make 170 years ago. King James, also said to be a black man. A lot of people don't know that, don't know the history of it. Um, so, yeah, it's pretty funny. The Moors, powerful black family that funded the Civil War, their half of the Civil War. So we had this United Brotherhood. That's why they came together. That's why it's called the United States. And we fought against the Vatican and the English army, who brought evil slavery around. No, all slavery was bad. Slavery would have ended after the Civil War, regardless. It wasn't even the main fighting point. I do believe I heard somewhere that every time an American dies, your Social Security uh, certificate goes towards like pennies on the decimal goes to the English Treasury. So we're still kind of under their rule. We kind of backed down and retreated, much like the Germans did in World War II, and we're like, we'll make a deal with you. Like we get sick of losing our brothers and sisters and people and family and the wars. We were sick of it, and we made the intelligent decision to stop the killing. So, yeah, and that was pretty much the birth of that. Well, I urge you all to go do your research. Stop calling the South racist. I'd really appreciate it. If you've never been to the South and you think that this place is racist, you don't understand what you're talking about at all. I've experienced nothing but love here. It's a great place to live. You should bring your family here. Keep your liberalism and your KKK party up north. Most racist people I ever met in my life was basic training that lived up north. So when they say the South will rise again, they're talking about we need to come together and uplift each other and come together. And we can't do it without each other. We can't fight against this tyrannical government alone. They're dividing and conquering us one group at a time, one lie at a time. And it's almost become easy for them. The information is out there if you want to find it. Peace.